Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
And welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We kick off a brand new week right now, and we are going to have a lot of fun with you guys tonight, so make sure you do. We're going to learn all about Terry R. Wriste. Josh Rutledge, podcaster, researcher, MUFON investigator, is going to join us to talk about this momentarily. In hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us. Little Timmy will join us as well. And Dirty Filth is here with another great cartoon as well. Let's say hello to everyone in the chat room tonight so far. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position, Kitty Caddywhack with a silver, Abbott Hoffman with a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Tim Mothman and your goatee, 2 separate entities, and Little Timmy James. There he is, Little Timmy James, our UFO guy. Good to see you. Jim Wimborough, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for the compliment. JSCO, Eternity Eternal, and Mike Rivers. Nice to see you all. Hello there, Karen in the Woo Train. Mama Catherine. Mwah! I love you, Mama Catherine. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. And thank you for the lovely note this morning. Noble Patrick is here. Noble Patrick will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Continuing on, there's Mel WD-40. Lubing us up for tonight's show because he's taken over from Bill WD-40. Mel WD-40, making sure we go into a show nice and smooth. We don't have that rigidness. You don't want that. You got to go in smooth on it. So that way, we're all lubed up. Number 32 in your program, starting on defense tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. Laura Lobbs, nice to see you. Hi, Brown Dwarf. And who's next on our list here? S. Vermette, good to see you. Good Canadian kid, that S. Vermette. There he is. Continuing on with our roll call, Richard Steele. Good to see you, my friend. Where you been hiding? It's good to have you back. All right, continuing on with our roll call, Mark Sanchez and his collection of Hawaiian shirts is here. Yeah, he has about 58 to the collection right now. Mennonite Abe. Wow. Mennonite Abe is here. Look at that. Hi, Ozzy Ange, Operation Shutdown. Good to see you all. Les Paul Holland strumming away on his guitars as we speak. And who's next? Digger Dog, how you doing? Necessary Dialogue. Sandra Kincaid. Nice to see you all. Sandra Kincaid will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. She will not sign an autograph unless you've gone for a sleep test to see if you have sleep apnea or not. It's true. It's true. You can't make that stuff up. Continuing on with our roll call, there's J Truth Seeker. Thanks for coming on in. And who's next on our list here? Al Garay over on Twitch says he did 1,025 push-ups in 45 seconds just to warm up for tonight's show. That man was pushing hard. Pushing hard. Good for you. John Lamb, nice to see you. Phyllis Boucher Perry, thank you for coming on in. The lovely and talented Captain K-Rod. Captain K-Rod. And if you get the thing of that, I applaud you. I really do. Marty Burback, thank you for coming on in. Pat Noble or Noble Pat, one of the two. I don't know. Let's see. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Lee the Bee and Stargazer, how are you? Elizabeth Nancy over on Twitter or X, how are you? All the love back. And let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Josh Rutledge is going to be here momentarily to talk about Terry R. Wriste. Who is he and what does he have to do with the paranormal, supernatural, and occult? We'll get into that momentarily. We are in roll call saying hello to Lawana Murphy. And next we will say, Lee the Bee, how are you? Good to see you. And who's next? Robert Lamoth, thank you for coming on in. And who's next? Maureen Green, good to see you. Rose Demaray, thanks for coming on in. And who's next here as we're running out of time? Nina Williams and Biba Bali, welcome. All right. Thank you, Deb, for starting the super chat tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. Excuse me. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have a fantastic show lined up for you tonight. A little bit of occult, a little bit of conspiracy, some aliens, Kentucky Goblins, Indrid Cold, all thrown into one. Josh Rutledge is going to be here momentarily to talk about who is Terry R. Wriste. Then in hour number 3, we got Swamp Dweller with another creepy story. Follow that up by Tim James, who is already prepared. He's stretched, he's limber for the UFO report. All right, let's get right to it. I got a little bit of a hoarse throat tonight. The reason why is over the weekend, I was in an area where there was a lot of forest fire smoke, and it's hitting me. It's hitting me, let me tell you. You know, as a radio guy, you could go through anything, but a bad throat, not a good idea. Not a good plan for radio. But we're going to trudge on through for 2 reasons. Number 1, I never get to use the word trudge on this show. And number 2, we have a show to do. And we have a guest lined up. And we've got 3 hours to actually take this to the next level. So let's do it. Josh Rutledge is a versatile, dynamic individual known for his multifaceted career. Excuse me. He's a podcaster, author, loves delving into the intriguing topics, particularly in the realm of UFOs and extraterrestrial phenomena. He's a dedicated UFO theorist and experiencer who brings a unique perspective to the work as a MUFON Field Investigator. But tonight, we're going down a different path with Josh. We're taking him down to Kentucky. Excuse me. I know I should have a cough button, but sometimes it just doesn't kick in. It just happens too fast. I apologize. So let's just bring Josh on right now because we are going to get to him and talk about who is Terry R. Wriste. Josh, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Dave. I'm so happy to be back, especially talking about this topic. Wore my special Kentucky Hopkinsville Goblin shirt just for the occasion.
I got to ask you, before we get too deep into this and who Terry R. Wriste is, let our radio audience and everybody learn who you are. How did you get into all of this? Was it just experiences, or was it something that you just had a keen interest?
I mean, I've always been interested in, just the stuff that goes bump in the night. I grew up watching, Twilight Zone and X-Files and Outer Limits and all of that kind of stuff. And so I always just had really intrigued. I've always loved space in general, just always. But in August 2019, I actually had a dream that kind of set me off on this journey. Then May of the following year, I actually had a UFO experience in my backyard in Kentucky. I'm originally from Kentucky, born and raised.
Oh my.
So that, really just kind of furthered, pushed me along to continue to explore the phenomena and then from there, it's just been, kind of once the boulder started picking up speed, it just started rolling on. And now I'm a MUFON Field Investigator out here in Phoenix, Arizona, which, Phoenix has its own stuff. So, yeah.
So for you, it's become a passion. It's become something that is a part of your everyday life, and you're somebody who's having a good time with it. But it's not just UFOs you like. It's kind of like the whole realm of the mysteries that surround everything.
Yeah.
It may not be the big subject, but you also love to go down these rabbit holes, take these trails that may not end.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, to me, the phenomena is everything. Somehow it's all related, right? Ghosts and poltergeists and Bigfoot and Sasquatch and Mothman and UFOs, like somehow all this stuff is related. And to focus in on a very small piece of it, you miss that big picture view. And so I try not to focus on anything that's strange. I want to know about it.
Do you want the answers, or is it just fun chasing the answers? Because this is a question that I have been mulling over in my head the last couple of months.
So I would like to know some answers, but I also think that like the thing that I really fight with more than anything is what if I was told that I would never know the answers? Would I still want to investigate? And I think the answer is yes, because even if I knew I could never know the answer to any of the questions that I'm asking, the people that I get to meet along the way, the cool stuff that I get to be a part of, the community that exists. I mean, we have probably one of the best niche communities in the world, in my opinion, these, the phenomena people. And so, just to be a part of all of that, to be part of something where my experiences can be echoed by other people and vice versa. I'd still want to be a part of it, even if I knew I would never know the answers.
I asked this question to Connie Willis from Coast to Coast AM when she was a guest. I said, if you were given the key to all the answers, but you had to shut your show down, would you? And she definitely 100% said yes. For me, I don't think I could. I love the chase a little bit too much, and trust me, I don't consider myself a researcher. I'm an enthusiast of these topics, but it often makes me wonder how many people would actually, shut it down for a chance to see the behind the scenes look of everything that is real. This is something that you have made a huge part of your life, as we just stated a few moments ago. Do you have a favorite? Is it UFOs? Is it cryptids? Is it paranormal?
So I would say that most of my experiences are in the UFO and paranormal space. And so because of that, I tend to, gravitate more towards those types of experiences. But that being said, I also, I'm always looking for what is the next part of the mystery that maybe I've excluded. Maybe I thought about it and said, that's not part of the mystery, when in all actuality it is. And so Just always trying to keep that open mind on what makes up the phenomena, so that, again, if I'm looking only at the paranormal, maybe there's a Sasquatch story over here that has some piece of information in it that is influential on my understanding of the paranormal. But because I'm not willing to look over there, I've missed it. And so I never have any opportunity to gain the answers that I'm seeking.
If you could have one piece of information, what would it be? Would it be seeing at Area 51, seeing if there's aliens there? Would it be, inside the Vatican vault to see what they know?
Yeah.
What would that piece of information be for you if you were granted one wish?
I would really like to sit down, if I was given the opportunity. I'd like to sit down with one of the original ufologists, like somebody like a Gray Barker or a Jim Mosby or Keel, just to kind of sit down and understand from them, because I really think that although, I'm a newer generation of enthusiast and researcher, this is not a new conversation, and people have been researching it for a long time. And to be able to sit down and interview and have a good conversation with those guys and understand probably what they never actually put into a book, right? What they never wrote into an article, theories that they had, ideas that they had, what strings they might be able to pull at from that perspective.
For me, I think it would be Hynek, J. Allen Hynek, or
Yeah.
I would like to sit down with Canadian ufologist Wilbur Smith, who really helped develop the whole UFO process and investigation in the United States prior to Project Blue Book. And I think it would be amazing to have a sit down with one of those guys. But, with your own eyes, what would you like to see? Would it be an alien face to face? Would it be a Bigfoot? Would it be, a conversation, a sit down conversation with a ghost?
I would say a sit down conversation with an ET would be awesome. Can I also record it? Can I get it on video and audio? And can I have a thermal set up and the whole kit and caboodle?
Do you know how many NDAs they're going to get you to sign on that? Just so you know.
I know. And that's, it goes back to your question around the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. What if the keys to the kingdom are so out there an explanation that there's no way you could ever convince anybody what they are? Would knowing all the answers drive you insane, because the answers are so complicated and complex that you could never articulate them to someone?
Well, I think too that, we all talk tough in wanting the answers. How many of us are really ready for it though?
Yeah.
I look at myself, like when I'm out in the forest, when I was out in the forest a month ago, and we were being stalked by a Bigfoot. There were 5 of us. We had a camera and we were being stalked. We couldn't see him. We could hear him. But when my buddy Mark said it was time to go, I'll tell you, I was first one out, man. First one out. And hey, I admit I'm one of the tough talkers where if I like, one of my dreams is to have a close encounter with a Sasquatch. Now, I'm not talking 50, 60 yards away. I've had that happen. I would like it to be within 10 to 20 feet. Right? But could I handle it?
Yeah.
What would I actually do if that happened? That's what I always tend to think.
Yeah, and you can't know until you're in that situation, right? You can
True.
say what you would do, but until you're there, you can't possibly know.
Oh, you're very, very right.
All you have to know is that you can run faster than everybody else in your group, right?
Well, as my friend Mark says, this is where we shoot you in the leg, so that way we could get away. I apologize for my cough tonight. But let's move on here, because you have a great podcast. You talk about all of these topics. You've delved into everything from the occult to UFOs to paranormal and everything around there. I know you're a UFO guy, but
Yeah.
do you have a specific topic that just just grinds at you in a good way that it's that itch you cannot scratch?
So by far, the Shaver mystery is the number one for me. I've got a Shaver mystery poster. I went and found the old cover from the magazine and blew it up and made a poster out of it. I mean, by far, the Shaver mystery is one that just gets me every single time. And I mean, just the other day I was doing research on additional stuff. I found some other interviews and things from Richard
Right.
Sharp Shaver. So yeah, the Shaver mystery is it.
For people who may not know what it's about, explain the Shaver mystery.
Yeah. So basically, this guy Richard Sharp Shaver, I'd imagine he got messed with a lot as a kid, having that name Sharp Shaver and so on and so forth. But in the early 1900s, he's working as a welder in a shop, and he starts hearing these voices coming, through whenever he's using his welder. And he thinks he's going insane. He voluntarily checks himself into a mental institute, and then voluntarily checks himself out a little bit while later. Ends up writing this big letter to Ray Palmer at the Amazing Stories magazine. And Ray Palmer, hear it from him, he thought it was bunk. He threw it away. But his editor said, you need to get it out and do something with it. So he did, put it in a magazine. Magazine flew off the shelves. Just they couldn't print enough of them. I mean, later on, I think in the 60s, he was printing them again just because they were so popular. But in the Shaver story, he says that through these voices that were coming through his welder, they tell him of a place called Lemuria, and the Titans and the Darrow and the Tarot, and these are competing people that were left behind, original inhabitants of Earth, so to speak. They live underground. The Tarot are fighting the Darrow. The Darrow stands for detrimental robots, and they are out to just make human lives just horrible. They have these machines that they shoot at people to make them see UFOs in the sky and just have horrible experiences and stuff. And so the Tarot are constantly fighting against the Darrow, trying to prevent them from doing so. So yeah, all this comes out again as an article in Amazing Stories, and that's kind of the gist of the Shaver mystery. But it goes on. He did several interviews where he talked about other entrances to see and experience the Tarot, and that's kind of where I think that the Terry Wriste conversation probably comes into play originally, with Alan Greenfield talking about the Shaver mystery and the Darrow and the Tarot.
Before we get into Terry Wriste, let's talk a little bit about a good friend of this show and a former guest many a times, Alan Greenfield, who is the author of the ever famous book, The Secret Cipher of the UFO Knots. And this is someone who is very much an expert on occultism.
Mm-hmm.
He's very much an expert on futurism. He calls them cryptonauts instead of aliens. I mean, this man he's like a walking encyclopedia. And unfortunately, so many people ignore his work, but it's absolutely incredible. What are your thoughts on Alan Greenfield?
I mean, Alan is a fantastic guy. I had an opportunity to talk with him a couple of times on my podcast. He's just I've never met someone who really wants to help you understand and process through whatever it is that you happen to be, researching or interacting with. If it's an area that he has even the minuscule amount of information about, he wants to share it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Alan, love him to death. But man, he is so fun to talk to, and he just goes off on these tangents, and you're like, you got to pull him back around sometimes. But yeah, fantastic guy. I've read some of his books. I've got 3, I think, on my shelf back here behind me. Secret Cipher of the UFO Knots, you mentioned. He did one about Men in Black. Then he's got another one that's all about kind of the history of magic. And that's really interesting. And he's got several other books as well. But yeah, fantastic guy.
When you look at somebody like him and the knowledge that he has, where he's been able to really tie together occultism with everything that's going on in the world, every type of phenomena, whether it's paranormal, supernatural, UFOs, alien contact, other dimensions and realms. It is scary to think that, a lot of these things we don't normally even talk about on our shows are interconnected with whatever the phenomenon is.
I like to think about it like, the phenomenon is the public, let's say the public presentation of the results of a lot of these occult activities. And I think probably that most of us probably even do occult activities on a daily basis that we don't even realize are occultic or magical in nature. If you have a ritual that you perform when you get up in the morning, that is to say, you get up and you do the certain number of things every single day, and say, if you're Catholic and you say certain phrases before you leave for work in the morning, those are all ritualistic, and they have some ties back to the occult. And so I would think that, again, most of us are probably doing a lot of these activities on a daily basis. We don't really know what we're potentially drawing out into the world that may be presenting itself as a UFO or as a Sasquatch or as a ghost. So, yeah.
We got 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Josh Rutledge is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Do you think that a lot of these mysteries will ever be solved? Or do you think that there's just certain mysteries that we in life are meant to chase, but never to find the answers?
I think that the answer is there for us to find, but we have to be willing to ask the right question. And I think sometimes we're unwilling to ask that question because what it means for us as humans and how we think about our lives and our existence and our reality.
I can see where you would go with that. And I agree with you. The one thing that I've learned through this, and I'm sure you have in doing your podcast as many years as you had, there's not a lot of wrong answers out there when you don't know what you're actually looking for.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, there are a lot of people who think there are.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I just got back from a Bigfoot conference, and I will tell you, it was so disappointing to see all of these people, and they're great people. Don't get me wrong. They're great people. They're great presenters, but to hear them talk so matter-of-factly about what Bigfoot is and what it isn't, and making fun of people who believe in the woo side of everything and so on and so forth, I found that real disappointing. And it was hard to listen to. It really was when you, like you said, people talk so matter-of-factly.
I mean, there's, the fact of the matter is, the only fact, if you will, within this subject is that there's no such thing as an expert. There can be no expert for something that we cannot define. And so, until we can define it, anybody who wants to call themselves an expert or present their idea or their position as an expert opinion, they're only fooling themselves.
Oh, I agree with you there. I totally agree with you there, because it's just, that's why I kind of put out a little bit of a Facebook post today on that, and it's funny because the responses are quite interesting. This is what I put. I'll quickly read this. I said, I often get asked how we can fix the divide in the paranormal, cryptid, and UFO communities. I put 4 steps up. Number 1, stop making up titles to enhance your resume. Example, if you've never been a scientist or a journalist, stop saying you're one. It hurts the community. Stop using your opinion as scientific fact. We all have opinions of what's going on. It's quite okay. Example, in the cryptid world, don't insult the woo just because you don't think it doesn't exist or is stupid. You don't know what the creatures are. Putting others down because of their beliefs and experiences is quite far-fetched. It should be done. Stop hiding behind the word science and stop asking for proof when there is really no proof anymore. We don't know what proof is. And on that note, Josh Rutledge, podcaster, researcher, MUFON investigator. I'm going to ask you one simple question when we come back. Who's Terry Wriste? We will be right back on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned, everybody. All right, we are clear. Oh, man. I can't believe this stupid. I'm so sick of forest fire smoke. We're close by?
By where we had the one last week, but they're all like 0.009. So I think it was just lightning from this afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Just having a look now.
Little Terry Hall, how's the mustache? Please give us an update in the chat room, please. All right. And Josh, thank you for a great first half hour there.
Yeah. It's been a great conversation.
For sure. I apologize about my coughing. Want to remind everybody that before tomorrow night and Wednesday night show, I'm going to be co-hosting Sterling every damn night on WPHT 1210 a.m. out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the fourth largest radio market in North America. I will be there. And 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to roll on out of that one and then go straight into Spaced Out Radio afterwards. So we're going to have a good time. Hi, Mr. Cowley. How you doing? Welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his Spaced Out Radio. Did I ever tell you I got in trouble? Or I had an audience member bitch at me for singing Mr. Cowley instead of Mr. Crowley?
No.
Yeah. I actually had an audience member email me. Yeah.
I always sing Mr. Crowley whenever I'm talking about Aleister Crowley. So
You can't. You cannot not. You know, double negative there.
yeah.
Damian Wyatt, how you doing? Millennium, my man. What's happening? I don't get people sometimes. It's amazing. It just goes to show that no matter how hard you work, there are certain people there that you just cannot please.
Well, it's the old adage, right? You can please all the people some of the time, some of the people all the time, but never all the people all the time.
Right? Right? And I'm going to tell you right now, my hair is really, really hot right now. I have hot hair right now because it's so thick.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so thick right now that it's like literally making me sweat. Yeah. Making me sweat. Damn hot hair. Michael Gutierrez, how you doing, my man? Good to see you. Let's see here. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. Oh, and guess what? I forgot about this. Tim will kill me if I don't do this. Hold on. Where is it here? Oh, there it is. Hold on, Josh. Hey, everyone. Guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have Spaced Out Radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com. Shop there today and make yourself look good. That felt good. That felt good. Oh, yeah, that's a gooder. That's a gooder. All right. Let's see here. All right. Deboruni, thank you for the second lovely super chat. Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. Warden Dragon, good to see you. Terry Hall's mustache will be signing autographs after the show as well. It's a late entry. You got to line up in the center of the studio, to the center of the studio. Yeah. I know Terry's laughing right now. Terry's my radio guy. He does so much work behind the scenes of SOR. I can never thank him enough. He's my 3 a.m. MFer. Everybody needs a 3 a.m. MFer. And he's mine. I love the man. Just love him. All right, Josh, we're coming back here in 5 seconds. Here we go, everybody. Here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate you tuning us on in. We love you for it. Thank you so much. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and you can follow us on any major podcast network. Download them for free. We're never charging. Download them for free. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Who is Terry R. Wriste? We're going to find out here momentarily because it's a name you may not know. It's a name you may not recognize, but it's a name that is tied with UFOs, aliens, the occult, goblins, paranormal, Indrid Cold. And the man to talk about it is podcaster, author, researcher, MUFON Field Investigator, Josh Rutledge, who is our guest tonight. Josh, welcome back.
Welcome back indeed.
All right. The $1 million question tonight, my friend. Who or what is Terry R. Wriste?
So I think that it is a title, kind of like the Dread Pirate Roberts in The Princess Bride, and that there have been many people who have been Terry Wriste throughout the need for that title to exist.
Okay. Explain that to me in a little bit deeper detail.
Sure. I mean, even Alan talks about in the second interview that he did in the back of one of his books. I can't remember which one it is. Even Alan talks about Terry Wriste being a name that he was using. And I can never remember the proper Latin. Is it nom de plume? Or I think it's if you write with it. But anyways, it's a name that this individual was using, but that's not their, let's say, legally given name, their birth name. And so, I mean, it would make sense. I mean, Terry Wriste is a rather provocative name, you know, that it lines up with a specific word that I won't use so that the NSA does not tap my phones. But, you know, that it's a provocative name. It's meant to get out there. It's meant to grab your attention. And so, you know, I just can't imagine very many parents thinking, I'm going to name my child this name, and then have them go through life with that name. But I do think that it fits within the kind of confines of a name to use as, you know, just to get out there to make connections, to kind of push the agenda that this person may be trying to push, or that someone may be able to maybe trying to push through him. And I've got some other kind of, you know, thoughts around that and how that ties into other aspects of the phenomena if it were a name like that.
How did this name come to fruition?
I mean, it could just be, you know, a bunch of guys sitting around at a bar at night. You know, hey, we got to come up with a name that we can use to talk to authors and not give them our real name. And they're like, well, you know, we bust down cave doors and kick alien butt. Let's use the name Terry Wriste because it kind of sounds like, again, the word I'm not going to say. But you know, so I mean, it's if it is a name, it could have been Steve Frank, or you know, in case you wanted two first names. But like kind of like Dave Scott, or you know, it could have been you know, what they chose, which was Terry Wriste. It may have actually started out as a real person named Terry Wriste, and then when that person decided they needed to step down, or maybe they, you know, met an untimely end and somebody wanted to continue what they had started, they just picked up the name and kept it going.
All right. So my question to you then is, how did you figure out that Terry Wriste was not just one person? It was numerous people.
Yeah, so it gets really interesting. When I had my previous podcast, which was called The Convergence Enigma, that I did with my really good friend Stefan Gearhart, pretty much every show we would put a call out to say, hey, Terry, if you're out there and you're listening, drop us an email, and we would include our email address. Well, March like 2021 maybe, was out shopping with my family. My daughter had to go to the restroom, so when I walked her to the back of the store for the restroom, I decided, while I'm waiting to pull up my phone, happened to see that it had an email for a form submission on our website. And it was a series of questions that said, like, hey, spooky boys, because at the time we called ourselves the Spooky Crew. It said, hey, spooky boys, you wanted me, you got me, you have 15 minutes to ask your questions, go. And it came from an encrypted email address. I had already lost 5 minutes because I hadn't checked my email. So I quickly responded with something like, is Indrid Cold dead? Because at that time, it had been floating around that Indrid Cold was dead. I think I asked if Terry was a shapeshifter, and I can't remember what the third question was, but within a few minutes, got a response back with the answers. You know, that Indrid Cold was not dead, but he had evolved. That was the word used. That Terry was not a shapeshifter. That would be too easy. And then that I was thinking too small with that question was the way he presented it. And I can't remember honestly the answer to the third question. I responded back again with another set of questions, but didn't get a response back. Our 15 minutes was up. And I honestly thought that was going to be the end of it. But instead, they emailed again, and that kicked off a 9-month conversation back and forth via email, culminating in a letter to my house in Kentucky, letting me know that the terrorist that I was conversing with had died, and that a new terrorist would be replacing him.
Wow. Have you figured out what the purpose of what or who Terry Wriste is?
I think that, you know, so my whole, I'm going to answer your question by phrasing it a slightly different way. I think that the whole idea of disclosure, in a very broad sense of the term, is a grassroots movement. It's slowly trickling out information around the world from various parties and various people to the individuals who need to hear it and see it, so that they can be convinced. And then when enough individuals have been convinced, everybody will then be able to receive disclosure. And so I think that the Terry Wriste character, if you want to call it that, is an agent of disclosure. It's, you know, it exists to serve as kind of like a whistleblower, so to speak. But instead of going to, you know, government agencies or the FBI and using that forum, they use the individuals who have a voice, if you will, in the areas that they want to spread their message in. So in the beginning, it was Alan. He was the voice that they wanted to leverage. Then it became, a couple of years ago with the Hellier show, they were the voice that he wanted to leverage. And then somewhere along the lines, I got involved. The person who contacted us gave us a lot of great information. Most of it was all centered in the West because that's where my friend Stefan lived in Phoenix at the time, and I was on my way moving to Phoenix. And so most of the information that was given was centered in the West, whereas most of the information that was given to the Hellier crew and Alan even was centered more in the eastern part of the country. So, yeah, I mean, I think bottom line, it's an additional mechanism to kind of get that disclosure related information out to the people who are actually willing to receive it.
Now, the people who Terry Wriste have been involved, they all seem to be connected in one way or another, whether it's government officials, whether it's alphabet officials, whether it's occultists, whether it's people of certain private membership groups. I mean, they all seem to be tied together into this one plan. Mm-hmm. And Terry Wriste seems to be, or whoever the character is, seems to be a vocal point of this. Have you had any contention from people out there that Terry Wriste is not just one singular person?
When we were first contacted by this individual, again, calling themselves Terry Wriste, and because they were providing information that was, trying to be diplomatic here, that was against the then popular representation of Terry Wriste, we did get quite a bit of pushback from a specific community group. But at the end of the day, it didn't really matter because the content that this person was providing, that this Terry Wriste was providing, really had nothing to do with Kentucky, West Virginia area. It was all centered in Nevada, California, Colorado, Arizona, very, very much in the western part of the United States. And so I felt no harm in conveying that information. Some of it we held back because it was specific GPS coordinates, and we didn't want people going out and, getting on somebody else's land or in private property. But a lot of it we put out there in a segment we called Wristwatch, just joking around that, that we put out there. Every time we would get a new message from him, we would provide our listeners details that Terry had provided. And, it was different than what people had been introduced to Terry up until that point. But, different isn't bad.
How did you know it was the actual Terry Wriste that was getting in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, I actually struggled with that quite a bit for a long time. Was it one of my friends that was doing it? Was it a listener that was just pulling our chain? But ultimately, it came down to one singular event. So it was Halloween evening. I'd gone to bed that night. When I was sleeping, I had a dream that there was a figure in white standing at the foot of my bed with like their arms stretched out, and ribbons of light were kind of flowing from their arms and just kind of flowing all around the room. I woke up the next morning and immediately jumped into messages and sent a message to my friend Stefan, again, the podcast friend with me, and told him about this crazy dream that I had last night. And he said that he also had an interesting dream that night. He had actually fallen asleep on the couch, and he had a dream that he levitated off his couch, and then he realized that he was floating, and he got scared and he fell back down to his couch. So very interesting dreams by themselves, just interesting dreams. But from there, I jumped into the email program that we were using to communicate with this Terry Wriste. And there was an email there was an email waiting for me, and it said, hey, I tried to visit you, it said a number of things, but it said, hey, I tried to visit you last night. And Josh, I appeared to you as myself in a white robe at the foot of your bed. And when I appeared to Stefan, I found him sleeping on the couch, and I tried to make him float, but he got scared, so I put him back down. I had told no one else those stories. No one else knew those stories. No one else knew about those dreams except for myself, my wife, because she sleeps next to me, and Stefan. And we already had an email waiting for us that included that content. Now, whether this person was terrorist or not, the fact that they knew that detail was a bona fide, in my opinion.
That's interesting. And when you first started delving into who or what Terry Wriste was or is, was there anything compelling that really led you to believe this was somebody that you should pay attention to, or was it just a caricature?
Very early on, they provided just a lot of really interesting details. They provided the name, totally blanking now. Just had it. If I come back, he was original director of NACA before it was NASA. So NACA was the name of it. Dryden, this is his last name. Provided us with the name Dryden. It said, look into Dryden, NACA. There's some interesting information there. In my research of Dryden, I found a list that somebody had put together that was all the original members of MJ12, and Dryden was on the list. He also provided us details related to the company that does all the screening for personnel at Area 51 and S4. I can't remember the name of that company at the moment, but I'm sure somebody in the chat will remember it. But he provided that information. He provided Raytheon for us to look into Raytheon. Raytheon is now quite a bit, I think, in the UFO space. So it's just a lot of good information that he provided that later panned out to be something more. It was almost like he provided it before it became what it was going to be. So in my mind, it was, again, whether or not he was the real terrorist, will the real terrorist please stand up, or not, it doesn't matter, because he was providing great information that led to just really interesting research topics that furthered the understanding of the government's involvement in the phenomena and so on. So,
okay, so a lot of people may be confused why we are talking about this tonight. And this is because out of the blue, I received a couple of emails from somebody who found a couple of articles that were quite anarchic, written by Terry Wriste in the late 80s. And they were published in almost an occult-like magazine. And out of the blue, I just found this very interesting that this came out. And, I reached out to Olaf Phillips, who is the publisher for Alan Greenfield. And Olaf got me in touch with you. And that's kind of how this all came together. I mean, I just found it interesting that this whole Terry Wriste story just will not go away. And, like as Olaf was saying, when you talk about Terry Wriste, somehow he always seems to, whoever he is, always seems to show up.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that is?
You start having those synchronicities, pop into your life. It was very synchronistic for me, even because I had recently, before Olaf told me, or before I even saw that you had received those articles about Terry, I was thinking, I had told no one, but I was thinking about putting my experiences with Terry into a book in relation to the Shaver mystery and some additional things that I've discovered about the Shaver mystery and things. And I was going to put all that into a book. And then Olaf pings me out of the blue and says, "Hey, are you guys still in contact with your Terry Wriste character?" And then, so that it just, again, synchronicity. So it's just really interesting whether or not the person pops up directly or it's synchronistic in nature. Somehow, people who are maybe not, who would not have been linked on the topic are somehow linked on the topic. And it really makes you wonder if there's some, bigger purpose for linking those individuals, or like you said, just kind of resurfacing the name, maybe as a spotlight, for Batman or whatever. Somebody's going to come out of the woodwork and start poking holes in things. You never know.
Why should we care? What is the purpose of caring whatever Terry Wriste says or does?
I mean, from a strictly research perspective, he provides intriguing threads to pull at. He provides threads that at a minimum are tangentially related to whatever topic you happen to be looking into at the time, which is something that's very interesting of its own, in its own right. That you're in here thinking about some topic, and an email pops in about Terry Wriste talking about this, and it happens to be somewhat tangentially related. That alone makes you wonder if there's some other involvement, universal involvement, or whatever that's pulling the threads, or at least connecting people together. But bottom line, he does provide very interesting content. The interviews that are in the back of Alan Greenfield's book, there's a lot of just really interesting stuff there. The interview where he supposedly finds an entrance to an alien cave base in Georgia, near where they shot the movie Deliverance, and goes in there with a bunch of Vietnam vets and kills some aliens, and they try to capture him and some other guys with nets. I mean, it's just all very interesting and intriguing, and it somehow lines up with other aspects of the phenomenon. If it was just that story and there was no other possible relation, I would say, well, it's just somebody who's got a very active imagination. But in the back of Alan's book, the second interview with Terry, he talks about a base at Dulce, New Mexico, which we later found out about later on in the 90s. So there's just, again, it's all very synchronistic and tangentially related enough that the character or the individual, whichever it might be, has provided his bona fides, right? He's provided contextual information that lines up with other phenomena to the point where if he provides it again, people listen.
Well, it's always interesting to see how it kind of works and the way it's supposed to work, because we don't, or I should say, people try to shy away from the occult. They try and shy away from the darker side of the phenomena that most of us, including myself, don't really understand. And yet there are characters out there who seem to try and lead people down that path. Could Terry Wriste be one of those?
It's very possible. Alan, again, in that second interview, Alan hinted at the idea that he was talking to a secret master, which is in a kind of an enlightened being within the occult space. I think that one of the reasons why that we just in general shy away from the occult is probably because of it's oftentimes cast in a very negative light because of more mainstream religion, right? And so,
Yes.
but the occult is not, it's not, satanic devil worshipers in a cave sacrificing babies to blah blah blah. That's the media, that's movies and TV and everything else that has hyped that up. That's the whole satanic panic of the 80s. And so, in all actuality, the occult, like I said before, it's just another way of interacting with our reality. It's doing practices and rituals and things to bring about to bring about some aspect of reality that you want to have in place. You want to get it. You want to get a new job. I just say just graduated from college. I want to get this new job. I just interviewed for maybe instead of praying to whatever your deity is, you go and do a little ritual in your house. For the occultist, it's the same thing as saying a prayer to whatever their higher power is. And
on
so
that, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Josh, because we're through a speedy hour number 1. We're going to continue the Terry Wriste talk, and we're going to get into a little bit of Indrid Cold and so much more on Spaced Out Radio with our guest, Josh Rutledge. Stay tuned, everybody. Hour 2 is next. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. And Josh, we got about 5.5 minutes. I'm just going to turn this over to Dirty Filth so he can show us the cartoon of the night. There you go, Dirty. Don't forget to unmute your microphone.
I'm way ahead of you, Dave.
Holy cow. Oh, wow.
You better go buy a lottery ticket, buddy boy.
Going right now.
He's not going right now. He's going out to feed the dog man and the Sasquatch. That's what he's doing. All right. Unfortunately, everyone's going to have to sit here while I finish up this cartoon because I didn't get it finished. Usually in the first hour there. So you have to give me a second while I ramble away with this. I got to do the little rich guy pads on his shoes here for my alien dressed up as a vampire. Because I'm doing my October month drawing for the calendar this year. Oh, excuse me. What a slob. So, yes. Next calendar is almost going to be ready here. I got about 3 or 4 more months to draw on it. But this is the October one. And Stanton's saying, I don't get it, Carl. Are you a well-dressed goat sucker? And he's like, I'm a vampire, Stanton. It's because the gray aliens aren't familiar enough with the rituals and things on Earth. So he's trying to keep his pals up to date the best he can. I gotta dirty up these stones. Look at this guy. I'll be back, he says. Alrighty. I think I'm mostly done here. Let's get the color of the mouth a bit. There we are. Just a little wrinkle under the eye. He's even got his Bela Lugosi hair going on there. And then one more. Put the shadows underneath him so he's not just floating in space. Very important. Alrighty. Well, the best part about Halloween is cutting up jack-o'-lanterns. I usually just do simple stuff, nothing fancy. But Mrs. Filth usually does a jack-o'-lantern contest at her work. It's got to the point where she's so good, she just kind of does a poor job so other people can win. It's like the mercy button. I think that's about done. Yeah, I think that's good and done there. The old booster box here. It's the box that boosts so you can actually see a little bit better. There we go. I don't get it, Car. Are you a well-dressed goat sucker? I'm a vampire, Stanton. You know what? I'm not happy enough with that purple. Let's need a little bit more purple there. You know what? I've mangled this for so long. I don't even remember what the purple is called, but it's good purple. It needs just a little darker in the back there. Oh, yeah. There we go. Perfect. Another masterpiece. Well, I hope everyone's having a good night. Let's go see here what the comments are talking about. Digger Dog. Hi, Digger Dog. Hi, Loana Murphy. Nah, I'm just Actually, here, I got a picture of me right now. Look at that. There's me. There's me chasing my cats. That's Blob and that's Whiskey. So that's what I look like. There you go. Wish granted. And thanks for the kind words, everybody. It's almost time for snacks for the cats. Let's see here. Everybody's scrolling through here. Whole Brown Dwarf and Love and Tim and Beard and Mr. Holland, Paranormal Pixie, everybody. I don't know how Dave goes through all the people. He must have some kind of cheat sheet. But once again, we appreciate you guys coming out. Thanks for watching me draw cartoons. I love it.
Filthy, you're so talented.
I'm just trying to. I don't know how you do it, Dave. There's like 10,000 people, and
I know.
I just draw cartoons, man.
I know you do. You do great.
It's way easier. Okay, thanks.
Excuse me.
And have a good night, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Great
I'll
work.
pet Blob for you.
Thank you. We'd appreciate that. All right. That's Dirty Filth, everybody. And I want to say thank you to Sandra, Deb, ×2 for the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it out on our website. And tomorrow night and Sunday before Spaced Out Radio, I'll be on WPHT Sterling every damn night for 2 nights, co-hosting with Coast to Coast AM's Connie Willis, 12:10 a.m. So make sure you look out WPHT. Hi, Helen back. How you doing? Here we go, everybody. 5 seconds. All right, let's kick off hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Who is Terry Wriste? We're going to continue the conversation with Josh Rutledge momentarily. But we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cacodecaphobia. Cacodecaphobia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's continue on with podcaster, researcher, MUFON investigator. This man wears more hats than a baseball team in the minor leagues. Josh Rutledge is with us tonight. How you doing, Josh?
Doing fantastic, Dave. Glad to be here.
So glad you're here as well, my friend. Hey, I want to get right back into this Terry Wriste conversation because the last half hour has me peaking with a bunch of different questions to ask you as we got into the occult. How did Alan Greenfield, author of The Secret Cipher of UFO Knots, meet up with Terry Wriste?
You know, I don't really actually know the origin of that story or that encounter. All I know is that in his books, he's got 2 different interviews with Terry in his books. There's one at the end of The Secret Cipher from the UFOnauts, and then the other one is at the end. I think it's the one that's about the Men in Black. And both are very interesting interviews. Although the second interview is the one where Terry actually gives, all the details about the cave base in Georgia and all of that kind of thing, going in and kicking butt and taking names. But as far as how they met, I mean, the interview number 2 gives the only indication that it gives is that Alan was interested in the Shaver mystery and reached out to Richard Shaver. Terry was also interested in the Shaver mystery, and when he found out that Alan was in communication with Richard Shaver, Terry reached out to Alan. But that's the only connection that I can find, and it's actually documented in the second interview that Alan did with Terry Wriste.
When we look at the why Terry Wriste comes around, have we been able to figure out what brings him around? Why he would all of a sudden pop up in different conversations?
Nothing. I don't think really anything that I've been able to find gives a solid answer as to why. It's all much like a lot of the stuff in the phenomenon. It's all conjecture. But I'll tell you that I was reading another book about 2 years ago called Project Serpo. It was all about Project Serpo. And I don't want to give too much away from anyone who's not familiar with the Project Serpo, but just briefly, the crash that happened in Roswell, we recovered a body. One of those bodies led us to their people, and we sent people to live on their planet. At the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the scene where Richard Dreyfuss gets picked to go and with the alien, that's all based on supposedly the Project Serpo storyline or conversation, if you will. And so in Project Serpo, there's a specific individual who's in charge of a red folder, and this red folder contains all the information that's ever been collected about the Ebens, which is the name that they gave the entities that crashed in Roswell, and their contact with the Ebens, and all the activity that's been happening on Earth, and the whole kit and caboodle is all contained in this red folder. And there's an individual who's responsible for keeping up with and documenting things in the red folder. And if that individual is killed or they retire or whatever the case may be, they're replaced with another person who is then responsible for keeping up with the red folder. This, to me, sounds very similar to the way Terry Wriste is described to me by the individual who contacted me claiming to be Terry Wriste. So it's possible that they're one and the same. And that's why they have access to all this just really cool, intriguing information, is because they're also the keeper of the red folder for all the Project Serpo stuff. And so if this person does have all this great information, and if it's some sort of a mechanism for slow, steady disclosure, I think that's why it would make sense for them to be intriguing and for us to listen to anybody who comes out of the woodwork and says that the Terry Wriste, who has information that points us in some direction to research, is worth listening to.
What makes Terry Wriste come out in public? Is it like the Kentucky Goblins story? Is it UFOs? Is it the occult? What triggers whoever is Terry Wriste?
That's a really good question. Why did he contact me and my friend Stefan, other than we kept asking him to? That's the only reason I can think that he took it upon himself to initiate contact with us. Why did he contact the Hellier guys? I don't know. Again, maybe it's a matter of they had some sort of an audience at the time. They had their website was up and running. They were reaching people. If it is some sort of a disclosure activity, he presents himself to the people who are most likely to get that information in front of the people who he wishes to have it. I mean, for all we know, he emails 30 people a day and no one ever responds, because we're all very skeptical about people emailing us with information, pertaining to UFOs or goblins or whatever the case may be. Maybe it takes the right type of person to reply back and see where it goes.
Well, that's kind of interesting, because there really doesn't seem to be a pattern with this guy.
Mm-mm. I mean, I would say that the only pattern really that exists that I can see is that they're people who have some sort of an audience. Even in the case of you, even though your emails weren't from Terry, but they were related to Terry, that still may be a reason why, this person was instructed to email you or felt the urge to email you or whatever the case may be with this detail, because you have an audience and you can get this information. You can, you can have the conversations like we're having now to get this additional information out to the people who can take it farther, who can research it more, who can see where it leads, whatever the case may be.
I'm actually a little baffled by it because since I received those emails a couple months ago now, I haven't had anybody reach out to me about it. You're the only one that I have talked to outside of Olaf Phillips about this. And, Terry Wriste is the type of person who just seems to have that ability to find emails, and to connect with whoever is chatting about him. And that has not happened, for full disclosure on that. Now, I'm kind of surprised about that.
Are you, sorry to flip the question back at you a little bit, but are you upset about it?
Not at all.
Okay. I mean, because
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm not upset about it.
Curious why, that people get chosen, I guess, or people get selected. I don't make it too, religiously that you're chosen, but why people get selected to receive this information. I don't know. I don't know why, because we asked for a year or more before we received a first response. So it's not like we asked and then the very next day this person emails us to say, hey, check out this cool information. It was very much a long time waiting, to the point where we never really expected to receive anything. So what causes him to pick the people that he picks? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, the only other commonality that I know of between myself, Alan, and Greg Newkirk is that we're all from generally the same region of the United States. I was born and raised in Kentucky. Greg's like Cincinnati, Ohio area, and Alan is in Georgia, north of Georgia, I think like Atlanta or something. So, I mean, that's the only thing that's the only other thing that I can think of that links us together, is that we're all Appalachian in our kind of ancestry.
Indrid Cold always seems to come up around Terry Wriste. For people who may not know the legend of Indrid Cold, could you fill us in on that?
Yeah. So it starts with a gentleman named Woody Derenberger in West Virginia. He's a TV repair guy. He's driving home from work one night. He sees these lights come up behind him. He thinks they're another car, until they pass him, slow down, and kind of land a craft in front of him. A gentleman who he describes as being tall, having slick back hair, gets out of the vehicle, walks over to Woody's passenger side of his vehicle and has a conversation with Woody, but never opens his mouth. So it's all telepathic. He asks Woody about the town that's nearby, which happens to be Parkersburg, West Virginia. And he, thus begins a conversation. If you read Woody Derenberger's book, a conversation between him and Indrid and other members of Indrid's crew, which spans over, several weeks and months after that initial contact. Now, there is an earlier mention of, or a reference to Indrid Cold that happens in New Jersey, where two kids skip school, and they see this tall, balding man that's standing next to a fence, and he says his name is Indrid Cold. This depiction, or this description of Indrid, is completely different from the one we receive from Woody in West Virginia. But yeah, that's kind of Indrid says that he's from the planet Lanulos, in the Ganymede galaxy. And he just kind of has, over the next, like I said, several weeks and months, maybe even years, he has conversations with Woody about Earth and Earthlings, and as well as Lanulosians and Lanulos. So
Indrid Cold is an interesting species, or whatever he may be. because there's also concern that you can almost summon him, that he is not a physical being, that he is somebody that if you talk too much about him, all of a sudden he could show up at your door, he could show up at your window, he could show up in your dreams. I mean, this all sounds like made up fantasy, but people have claimed this.
Well, and I'll tell you that when I had my UFO sighting in my backyard in Kentucky, and I started really getting into and reading, like I read so many books and watched so many documentaries and things when I first got started. It was like I couldn't get enough. I was laying in bed one night and I just kind of, reached out with my mind and I said, "Hey, Indrid, if you're out there hanging around, I'd love to talk to you." And I got this voice pop into my head and I guess early channeling, if you will, because I didn't really know what channeling was at the time. And we just had a conversation back and forth. And I asked, like, for example, I said, "What are the grays?" And the voice responded with, "We needed them, so we made them." And I later found out via other documentaries and books and stuff that people report the grays as being more like robots or biological robots that interact. So it was just all very interesting. So like you said, it's like if you put a call out to Indrid, he just kind of shows up in your dreams or maybe in a channeling message or something like that. It does seem, even Terry in his second interview with Alan Greenfield talks about finding Indrid Cold in West Virginia. He uses the secret cipher that Alan in his book, and he uses clues that were left behind, and he finds Indrid Cold in West Virginia. And he said that when he first saw where the shack was in West Virginia, it had signs on it, like I guess like Coca-Cola signs or whatever, that it said like cold and then stars. There were all these different little signs. And he started to walk up to it, and he said a man approached him and said, "I think you're looking for me." Almost like he knew that Terry was going to be there, or that Terry was there for him. And then so Terry actually met Indrid Cold. Again, this is all via the interview with Alan. So it is very interesting that Indrid seems to know information about you that maybe you haven't told anyone else.
Do you think that he is still around?
Yeah, there's been mixed messages. Tanya Derenberger, who is Woody Derenberger's daughter, she unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But she contacted the Newkirks. This was, I think, in the second season of Hellier, and said that Carl, who was one of the crew members of Indrid Cold, contacted her and said that Indrid had been killed. That's actually what prompted me to ask Terry in my initial email exchange if Indrid was dead. And of course, Terry's response was that he had evolved. And so maybe it is that he's more corporeal now than physical. And so it's not so much that he's dead, but maybe he just exists more as an energy or a spirit or whatever term you want to use there. Again, kind of going back to all the way back to the beginning of the conversation, thinking about the information is paranormal that may translate to the UFO experience and vice versa.
So if he's corporeal or not physically here anymore, Indrid Cold, that is he a ghost? Is he a figment of imagination, or is he a tulpa?
I think maybe I think our answer to that question would probably not do it justice. That's, I think, us trying to fit something we don't understand into a category or a context that we do try to understand. It's is he a ghost? If we describe ghosts as the living energy that remains after the physical body has died, maybe he is a ghost. But if we don't define ghost that way, then maybe he's something else.
What do you think he is?
I think he's living energy that remains. His physical body, if it was ever physical to begin with, because we know in New Jersey he projected an image that was different from what he projected in West Virginia. And it was actually different still from the image he projected to Terry Wriste, as Terry recounts it in the interview. So if he was ever physical to begin with, then he's no longer physical and his energy remains. And I think that's the way he exists now, is in a very energy-based existence.
Interesting. So do you think, though, that Indrid Cold was real?
I do. And I would say that I think he is real, because was would denote that he's no longer here. But he's here in a different way. And so therefore I would say that he is real.
How does this all tie into Goblins? You're from Kentucky.
I am. So wow. So the Hellier show, I remember reading reviews when it first came out, and it was really funny that everybody would watch it and review it would say, I watched like 5 episodes and there are no goblins, other than the one you kind of see that Tyler made as part of the intro. But the original kind of depiction or introduction of goblins for Kentucky is the Hopkinsville case, which happened in the 50s. And I think you actually may have had the last survivor of that case on a few weeks back. I can't remember her name.
Yes. Geraldine Stith.
Geraldine Stith, thank you. But that whole case was just, it's these described as goblins or owl people that would, that kind of terrorize this farm family in Hopkinsville, Kentucky over the course of an evening. And then kind of just went away, and then we didn't really hear anything about them for a while. For me, as someone who's a shaver, enthusiast, if you will, and the whole idea of the Darrow and the Tarot, to me, the Goblin story fits, because Kentucky, for those that may not know, sits on top of the largest cave system in North America. It may even be one of the largest cave systems in the world. I think it is. So, but majority of Kentucky is caves. And at the time, no one was really talking about this, but there was a case with in Evansville, Indiana. Indiana is to the north of Kentucky. Again, those that don't know, case in Evansville, Indiana, where some people had gone down to the Ohio River and were swimming. And one of the individuals that was swimming had something drag her underwater. And when they were able to get her back up from underwater and pulled her to the shore, she had claw marks on her leg. And they collected the mud and stuff that was in the claw marks, and they sent it off to the lab to try to figure out what the species was that had attacked her. And the mud that was in her wound only came from underwater cave systems. So this happened the same day as the Hopkinsville Goblin case, the same exact day, the same exact year. So again, if there's all these connected caves underneath Kentucky, perhaps these goblins that happened in Hopkinsville, the Ohio, the Beast of the Ohio is the name of the story, if anybody wants to look it up, in Evansville, maybe that's all related. Up in Cincinnati, you've got the Loveland Frogs, also around the same time, just a few months before the Hopkinsville Goblin case, where these patrolmen are out driving and these 2 6-foot-tall frogs walk out from a roadside ditch and just casually walk across the road and disappear into the field. But if all of this stuff is, let's say for a moment that all of it's real, and they seem to kind of come and go and disappear, maybe it really is a matter of them going into the cave system. And it gets into the Darrow and the Tarot because they live in the Middle Earth, the space between inner Earth and outer Earth. So maybe there is some sort of another species or several species that live underground, and we just never interact with them. I think you.
With your host, Dave Scott. Yeah, I had my mic on mute. Damn it. Yeah, that's all right. That happens. Yeah, that's what happens in live radio sometimes. You forget to turn your mic on.
It was the Men in Black. They did it.
What a jerk. It was Indrid Cold. We actually, a couple years ago, had some real interesting stuff happen around here. That involved Alan, Olav, myself, and a remote viewer at the time who was a friend. And what happened there scared her so bad. I'm not going to mention her name, but what happened scared her so bad that she cut off all contact with me and Olav.
Wow.
Yeah. I was sitting in studio one night and I kept hearing this voice in my head saying, "You can't see me. You can't see me." Like I felt like I was having people like right out my window. And I was having strange crap happen. Like one night I have over my window, I don't have a curtain. I have a big Canadian flag. And one night I was watching what looked to be someone walking with a flashlight all around my flag. So during one of the breaks, I quietly snuck out of the studio and I went up there to see. Actually, it was the same night because I went up there to see who was doing it. Like maybe because I have some friends around here, and I kept hearing this voice in my head, "You can't see me. You can't see me." And the image that I was given was a lady, like a 30s, 40s style lady with the perfectly done hair, the hat, a long red dress, high heels, wearing a trench coat, and there was a gentleman right beside her in a suit. And so I contacted my remote viewer. I said, "Can you check this out for me? This is going on right now." Like I'm texting this. I'm not saying this on microphone or anything. And she goes, "I see two people. One's a lady in a red dress. And she keeps saying to me, 'You can't see me. You can't see.'" Now, this person lives in Washington State. Never been to my house.
Wow.
Okay. So we get on the phone. I'm not sure. I can't remember if it was that night or a day or two later. We get on the phone with Olav and Alan starts doing his voodoo stuff that he does. And I mean that with all due respect, because I love Alan and the ciphering and everything. And he figured that they were actually aliens that were remote viewing. They weren't actual people. They were aliens. And then follow this up, true. And I have proof of this. About 2 months later, a month or two later, at 3 a.m., my phone rings. It was a Saturday night, and my phone rings. And it's Olaf Phillips' number. And the phone hangs up. And it rings again. I go, "Hey, Olav, is everything okay?" Click.
Wow.
So I call Olav back goes to his voicemail. My phone rings about a minute later, and all I hear is doo doo doo. And all of a sudden in my head, then the phone goes click. And as soon as it went click, I kept on getting this image of like a diamond with two long horns sticking up.
Mm.
But the horns aren't connected to the diamond. And it's coming at me in every color of the rainbow. And I remember trying to say, keep this going. Like, there's a message here. What does this mean? How? And then it just faded off. I call up Olaf, or Olaf calls me the next morning at 11:30. And he says, Dave, I never called you. My phone has no record of calling you. Okay. And I had to show him from screenshotting my phone that he called me 3 times, twice at 3:33 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. It was so freaking weird. All right, we got about 7 seconds. Thank you to Steve, Sandra, and Deb ×2 for the super chats. Here we go, everybody. All right, here is the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Who is Terry Wriste? Podcaster, researcher. Josh Rutledge is with us. We'll get to Josh momentarily as we have until the top of the hour. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Let's rock it out. Josh Rutledge is here. Josh, you haven't mentioned your podcast name yet. Fire it away.
Yeah. Mysterial Experiences.
Beautiful. Where can people find it?
I'm on YouTube, youtube.com/Mysterial Experiences. It was out in audio form, but honestly, they got to be a little cumbersome to keep putting it in multiple places at once. So it's only in YouTube now.
All right. That's easy enough. And we're talking about Terry Wriste and Indrid Cold. Where does this all go? Where does this all lead?
It's like the question you asked me when we first got started. Is it part of the is it knowing the answer or finding the answer? And so, I think that at the end of the day, that's what all this is. It's just another part of the mystery. And it's one that I don't know if this part of the mystery actually has an answer or if it's just an input to the mystery itself, and it provides different details, and we use those details to help solve the mystery. Will Terry Wriste come out of the woodwork again? Either the person or the name. Will they provide additional content and details? Don't know.
Does it matter, though? To the grand scheme of what we're trying to solve with the phenomena, does it matter?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Because again, the whole idea or concept of terrorists is that they're potentially an insider that's providing a researcher with a thread to pull at. So whether it's Terry Wriste that provides that thread or some other person, as long as there continues to be threads to pull on to try to figure out where they lead and what it means as it relates to the mystery, I don't think it really matters if it's Terry or Bob or Suzanne or anybody else that maybe comes up with the next mystery to be solved.
There are so many different avenues that we could go with this. Let's get into the occult side of things here for a couple of minutes because we've talked about it, but we haven't got into it. Terry was an anarchist. We know that, or the legend, or whoever he is,
Right.
talked about wanting to overthrow government, talked about wanting to, create a almost a lawlessness, that revolution type of activity. That doesn't seem to tie in. At least that's what the articles that were sent to me were about.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem to tie in, though, to the UFOs, the aliens, the spells, the synchronicities, Indrid Cold. It doesn't seem to match that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's so the way I look at it is it's one of two things. It's either A, he has hobbies that extend beyond UFOs and Indrid Cold and that sort of thing. Or B, it's potentially a different person. And they're just using a name that they saw in a book somewhere and thought, hey, that's a cool name to use as a part of my anarchist agenda. I'm going to use that in these articles. I think in either way, it kind of fits a little bit if you think about it, because one of the things with Shaver and the Tarot and the Darrow is that it's thought that, especially when we look at like the Dulce base in New Mexico, it's thought that the government, at least the U.S. government, is in league with ETs, aliens, whatever you want to say, potentially the Darrow, potentially the Tarot. And so in that regard, wanting to kind of put an end to that relationship and really cause as much pain and trouble as possible to basically make them no longer want to work together towards whatever goal they're working together on. That would, I think, fit within that anarchist type view that we maybe see with Terry. In Alan's, and again, I'm going to go back to the second interview with Alan. He talks about Terry being, he was a Vietnam vet, but also against the Vietnam War. And so I think it kind of fits within, if you look at it within the time box of when he's talking with Alan, then his anarchy maybe fits within that time box, but maybe it wouldn't extend beyond it. Or if it did, maybe it extends beyond it in a slightly different way or a different capacity or whatever the case may be. But I guess what I would say is that since I don't actually know who Terry Wriste is, can't call him up and say, hey, what's your thoughts about, and then insert government topic. All I can really go off of is that we're presented with two different types of Terrys: a Terry that is an anarchist and wants to overthrow the government, and a Terry that wants to stop the Darrow from making a mess of our world. And in some way, those two things are slightly related.
Do you think then that he has a team? I know you mentioned that earlier on, that you don't think Terry Wriste is one single person. It's kind of a pseudonym for many people who are using that. Do you think that they have an agenda? Do you think that this is something that could be tied to government alphabet organizations, whether it's CIA, NRO, NSA?
It's possible. In the show, Hellier, he sends Greg and them a picture where he's written some numbers on the back of what looks like a photograph. And in that same photograph that he sends, there's an abbreviation of SLUF or SLUF. During the 70s, that was a nickname for an airplane. So it's possible that on the other side of that picture is just the airplane that was the nickname for. It's also possible, though, that in itself is some sort of a secret, alphabet organization that we're just not privy to. And so if that's possible, that's the case, I could see where maybe that's a black budget project. You talk about all these people are talking about all these black budget projects with the UFO and everything. Maybe Slough is a black budget project, and he's a part of that project. Maybe that project has something to do with Project Serpo. Again, these are all unknowns that unless Terry is still out there, or if in my case he's been replaced with the new Terry, and that new Terry wants to make contact, it's really hard to drive towards those answers. And again, like you asked just a few minutes ago, if we knew and if we had the ability to ask those questions, how would it further our understanding of the mystery? And that I don't know.
That I don't know either. That I really don't know. Do we see a time when Terry Wriste may come back into the public, if he ever was in the public, or to start feeding information again?
It's possible. I mean, if he is fulfilling that role as a kind of whistleblower, but not in the sense of going to Congress and doing it, but in going to the people who need to hear it, then as maybe it's a matter of injustice of the information that the government is releasing, not feeling it's the right amount of information or the right type of information, and he comes forward to share what he knows. I think it's very possible that we could hear from Terry again, or at a minimum, someone who says, "Hey, I knew Terry, and he gave me this information to pass along." To invoke his name in that regard. But I think at the end of the day, we can't get, bogged down in the who has rights, who has the right to talk to someone claiming to be Terry Wriste, and instead we have to just take what that person is providing and figure out if it again provides a thread for us to pull at to figure out some new aspect of the mystery.
Now, earlier on, you said you have conversed with Terry Wriste. How did that come about? How did that go? And where is it today?
Yeah. So, it started out in he submitted a form that I had on our website for our podcast at the time. Again, the name of it was The Convergence Enigma. It was ran for like 4 years. All the episodes are still out there if anybody wants to go listen to them. But he filled out a form online, and that started the conversation. We then moved it into a Proton Mail. I think that's what it's called. I think it's called Proton, but moved it over there, and just back and forth, email back and forth. He would provide, like I said, GPS coordinates. He would provide names, location. One of the things he said to look at was 112 kilometers due south of Groom Lake. 112 kilometers. Number one, it was interesting that he said kilometers instead of miles, but maybe that's a nod at military potentially, or European, or just not U.S. Since kilometers are used pretty much everywhere except for the U.S. But 112 kilometers due south of Groom Lake. That's actually a mountain range just north of Pahrump. And for anybody who doesn't recognize, Pahrump was the broadcast location of Art Bell. So was he pointing us to say, look here, Art Bell stuff, or was he pointing us to look at that mountain range? I don't know. And at the time, and really still, I don't have the means to just drive to that mountain range and spend a day or two exploring the mountain range to figure out if there's something there that I was meant to find. And that's really what it boiled down to, is he would send us all these GPS coordinates and things. Some of them are in places that are on Native American land, and so you have to have special permission or a minimum a guide to get to them. So it was great information, but in a lot of cases it wasn't accessible, at least not in the time frame that he was emailing us. Now I still have all the information, and so if I wanted to, or if I was able to, I could go out and get the necessary people involved to try to go to some of those locations and see if there's anything there worth finding. But at the time, I didn't have that capacity. And he actually voiced that a couple of times in email, the frustration that we had not really done anything with some of these locations that he had provided us with. And, I would reply and say, I'm sorry, but, I live in Kentucky, Stephen has a job, blah, blah, blah. And he would write back and say, I don't want to hear your excuses. So there were times where he was really seemed upset that we weren't chasing down these leads that he was sending to us. So, if it was somebody who was just kind of pulling my chain, again, the experience that happened on Halloween night for me solidified that everything that had happened prior to and that would happen after, that was the bona fide for me. But even if it was somebody that was just pulling our chain, some of the information they provided, again, around Richard Dryden with DAC or NACA. By the way, Richard Latimer Dryden was the name of the person for NACA. If you pull him up and look at his picture, he resembles Alan Greenfield almost to a T. I mean, it's amazing the uncanny between those two images. Again, Richard Latimer Dryden versus Alan Greenfield. It's amazing what they look like. But so I mean, it's possible that he comes back around, that maybe he'll give me another chance. He'll send another email. I do, still every now and then I'll jump into Proton Mail and I'll fire off an email to the address that I still had for him. And you never know when it's going to be a response. But the way that it all ended for me was December of 21. I got a physical letter in the mail. And in that letter in the mail, it was a handwritten letter, supposedly from him, that was delivered by a courier that said that he had died. And this was going to be his last interaction with me. And I mean, there have been no additional emails or anything after that point. Like I said, I continue to email about every 3 to 4 months. I'll jump in there and fire off an email just in case. But that letter said that, his courier was instructed to send it in the event of his death. There was a different letter to be sent if he had been captured. This was the letter that was in the event of his death. It included some personal information for myself and Stefan, my co-host and a good friend of ours, Santosh, who was also involved in the conversation. But he kind of signed it off with a little cipher information that I decoded, and I used to know the phrase by heart, but I don't anymore. One of the big things that, though, the letter that it included is that he said he would appear to me as an elephant. And when I moved from Kentucky to Arizona in June of 2022, so this was just 6 months after receiving that letter, I was walking back from the mailbox and looked up in the sky, and there was a cloud formation that looked like Babar the elephant. And so I took that, kind of as a positive sign that here he was communicating to me, appearing to me as an elephant. But that was the last, the letter was the last conversation from him. And the elephant, if you want to take it at that, was the last sign from him. But, the information he provided along the way, I still have not had an opportunity to really sit down and dive through and comb through everything that he provided. I think you're on mute again, Dave.
Darn it. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
This is what doesn't make sense to me now, is that you haven't had contact with him since 2021, but yet if Terry Wriste never dies, or at least the name never dies, why do you think a new Terry Wriste hasn't popped up to rekindle that conversation? Or is your part of whatever it was now a dead end?
It's possible it's a dead end, or it's possible that until I follow the leads that he provided and in some way publicly provide that content to people, there won't be another contact. Because I mean, in his mind, and potentially the next Terry Wriste's mind, I didn't do anything with the information provided. If it was the same, we'll call it organization that contacted the Newkirks, they did stuff with the detail provided. I was not in a capacity to do so when I was provided it, and so it may be that I won't receive anything additional until I prove that I'm worthy of the communication by doing something with what's been provided.
So do you think it's on you then and not Terry Wriste or whoever Terry Wriste is now reaching out again?
I do. I really think that it's on me to at least provide some, some public facing confirmation that I took the information that was provided and I did something with it. Whether that be, a live stream of me from a mountainside near Pahrump, or whether it be just a collection of various, research, data gathering, some sort of a presentation that I put out on YouTube or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what that's going to be myself. But that's where I feel like I'm at, is that if I think about this as a ritual, in that he contacted me and we initiated a ritual together, the next stage in that ritual might just be me publicly putting something out, more so than just, we got an email from Terry and here's what it says. But actually taking the information that he provided, doing the necessary research, compiling the data, putting together some sort of a report or a presentation, and putting that out for consumption to prove to the organization that, I'm worthy of receiving additional content and details and guidance.
3 minutes to go. What do you expect to happen as this moves on?
If Terry Wriste or the organization is listening to this, or they happen to, to watch it, I would hope that, they would see that I do continue to think about it and talk about it to anybody who will listen. But I think that at a minimum, anybody, the kind of the message that I would hope that I've conveyed here is that if you receive an email or a Facebook Messenger, or somebody reaches out to you on X and they claim to be Terry Wriste and they send you a name or an organization and they say, look at this company, look into this, don't just dismiss it as, somebody messing with you. Take the opportunity. If nothing, if they're not really Terry Wriste, it doesn't matter. If the information they provide leads you somewhere to uncover some aspect of the mystery as it pertains to you or to something that you're interested in. At the end of the day, I think that's all they're trying to do. If it's an organization, if it's an individual, whatever the case may be, they're just trying to get people to look into maybe some of these more obscure threads as a part of the mystery, as opposed to focusing so much attention on what, the government is putting out as disclosure, that we're missing all these other, data elements that are just constantly flying at us all the time, because we're waiting for the government to tell us when disclosure has started and when it has ended, and so on and so forth. The governments of the world, even, since I know we're reaching people around the world. So it's, if you get contacted by a Terry Wriste or, Peter Davenport or whatever the case may be, and they say, hey, I've got this, check this out, go look at this company, and they seem to have a contract with the government to research UFOs, take the time and just go look at it and see, because it doesn't really matter who gave it to you, as long as you get something out of it and it helps you in your understanding of the mystery.
We got about 45 seconds left with you, Josh. This is a show that has literally flown on by. We could probably go another 2 hours on this.
Yeah.
We may have to. Do me a favor, 30 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find your information, report UFOs to you in your podcast.
Yep. So you can go to mysterialexperiences.com. That's my website. Or you can go to youtube.com/mysterial experiences. That's the show and all the other stuff that I put out, dowsing rods and all the kind of stuff that I do. Everything can be found on my YouTube channel, Mysterial Experiences.
I love it. Thank you, my friend, for coming back
you.
on Spaced Out Radio. We're
Thanks for
going to
having
do
me.
this again. I appreciate you so much for doing that. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller is back. Then little Timmy James is in studio for the UFO report. Spaced Out Radio continues with hour 3 next, everybody. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, buddy. That was great.
Yeah. I really enjoyed every part of it. So
Yeah, so did I. Terry Wriste just totally intrigues me. Indrid Cold intrigues me. You know.
we didn't even get to talk about Valiant Thor.
Oh, well, I guess. You know what? Let me ask you this. What are you doing Wednesday night?
Nothing.
Let's continue this conversation Wednesday if you're free, because
Yeah.
Science Bob has to take the night off, and I think we could continue this conversation.
Okay.
Want to do that?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. We'll see you then.
All right, man. Later.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. All right, we're going to continue that conversation. I need more.
Yeah.
I need more. All right, we'll be right back, everybody. Thank you, Major Lee, for adding to the super chats tonight. Along with Debaruni ×2 and Sandra and Steve. Stu F. and Gerson, good morning to you. Yeah, we got to continue this conversation. We have to. All right. After tonight's show, I have a little bit of an announcement to make regarding a little bit of a change around SOR. Audra Lynn, how you doing? So stick around after the show, and I will make that announcement on our YouTube channel. Don't forget, our Spaced Out Radio store is always open. No, Dave's not pregnant. He just looks that way. 10 seconds, everybody. All right, let's kick off hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Pleasure to be broadcasting to you live from SOR headquarters in the mountains of British Columbia. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam is set the password for tonight. Cacodecophobia is your password. Cacodecophobia is a good one, so make sure you check it on out. Why? Well, because that's what we do around here. That's what we do. We got to make sure that everything just keeps on rolling. All right. We're having a little tech issue with the intro music to the swamp, but we're going to get to Swamp Dweller and right now. So here we go.
Our next story is also from just a few weeks ago. I would say this is less mysterious and more everything else. Joe Donnell was a park ranger and emergency responder for 25 years, but is now currently retired. On August 22nd, he was merely enjoying his time at Morehouse Reservoir in Summit County, Utah, when something went terribly wrong. He and his family were near a boat ramp when they discovered a truck started rolling into the ramp, going straight into the water. Though he couldn't see inside the truck at all, he could see people chasing after it straight into the water. They were yelling and screaming and just freaking out. Upon approaching, he would learn some absolutely horrifying news. The parents and grandfather of a 9-year-old boy and a 2-year-old girl were unloading their kayaks from their Dodge pickup truck, as you would, when suddenly the vehicle began to lurch forward with both of the children still inside. Luckily, one of the boys were able to escape without the assistance from anybody. Brandon Haskell was able to save the toddler, but the last child, Paxton Knight, was trapped inside the truck and was disappearing before everybody's eyes into the water. Joe later told reporters at Fox 13, "As an emergency responder, you are trained to respond." Without hesitation, he went in. While standing on the cab's roof, the murky water was much too dark to really see through, and it was almost completely over his head. But he dove 6 or 7 times over a course of around 10 minutes before finally emerging with the boy's body. While in the submerged truck, visibility was dang near zero. Finally, on that last dive, by some stroke of luck, he felt something floating and grabbed onto it and yanked it out. He hugged Paxton close to his chest and began swimming back up to the surface. Once he was out of the vehicle and back onto the beach with all the bystanders, Fiona Pierce and Chance Peterson began to do CPR and resuscitation. Fiona received CPR training as a nurse, and Chance was luckily able to assist. He was then airlifted to the nearest hospital and put on life support. The fact that Pierce and Peterson had stepped in when they did really helped. It was every bit of a miracle that Joe's presence was there too. It's almost as if they weren't supposed to be there when this accident occurred. The story's actually kind of weird. They originally tried to visit the reservoir a day before, but a flat tire put a wrench in those plans, so they had to come a day later. The EMT, who arrived on scene, said Paxton had a pulse within the first minute of their arrival. Considering how long the child was submerged, this is truly some sort of miracle. Thankfully, Paxton went on to make a full recovery and is doing okay. He was released from a hospital, I think about a week after. Shortly after, the Knight family would come and be reunited with that brave park ranger. Joe and the others involved had a nice award ceremony and a banquet. As of a September 3rd update, the families, who are now all friends, are going to be planning to do this every year. For all the dark and horrifying cases we cover on this channel, it's nice to hear a happy ending for once. It's true. Joe and the others are heroes, no doubt. But that kid was underwater for 10 minutes. He fought like hell to survive and is a real warrior. Paxton is one tough little dude, and I think he's going to be doing some great things in his lifetime.
All right. Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story as we get ready to say hello to Tim James and his UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, Tim James, good to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic. It is, sometimes I don't understand this system. Like trying to figure out, where did my audio go? Where'd it go? Tech issues. You step away for a weekend.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the gremlins come out.
Yeah.
Steal your audio.
Yeah.
Steal your audio.
Excellent.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But
No.
it is what it is. And that's, I guess, something we need to put up with.
Yeah, absolutely. So how was the weekend?
Well, I went to the Nicola Valley Bigfoot Conference, and it was a lot of fun. I met some great people that I've talked to on the phone or talked to on Spaced Out Radio and never really met them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an incredible night. It was an incredible adventure going into the aspect of talking about Bigfoot. I got to hang out with Dr. Jeff Meldrum, which was really cool. He don't like the woo. He don't like the woo at all. The one thing I will say about it, though, is this. There was some brilliant people there, but they were all from the cookie cutter flesh and blood crowd. And there were a couple of us, including former guest Jason Kenzie, who was on the show a couple weeks ago. And we just kind of sat around listening. Like, the one thing that I learned, as we're having some camera issues here right now, one of the things that I learned about this whole aspect of ufology, or not ufology, the cryptid world, is that there's a lot of narrow-minded people out there. And look, I don't really care what your issue is, what your boggle is, what you're doing, or anything like that. I don't care what you believe, because everybody's allowed to believe their own aspect of everything. But I will say this, where I did have some troubles with it, is that there was a lot of people on the aspect of flesh and blood, but they wouldn't hear anything else. They didn't want to hear anything else. And there were comments of like tinfoil woo crap, get the conspiracy theorists out of our way. We're kind of pushing the kind of the way many of the scientists in the UFO field are. And I was disappointed with that, because there were some people there that I truly, really respect.
Right.
Really respect in regards to their research.
Sure.
But I don't like that hardcore, this is what it is, And if you think differently, you're an idiot.
Mhm.
And I didn't get that from the organizer, Sheldon, who will be on this show in a week or two. I didn't get that from him. Great guy. He put on a fantastic event.
Cool.
He's already asked me to speak next year at it. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity to say, absolutely.
Good for
And
you.
anything Spaced Out Radio that we can do to help out, we're darn well going to do that. But it is something that I found, in going out for dinner, that I was the weird guy. I was the weirdo who was the woo guy. Like, so they kind of stayed away from me a little bit, some of the guests. And, not even an acknowledgement of hello, how are you? Like, I'm on the same bloody poster as you.
Oh, wow.
And Dr. Jeff Meldrum, he totally was like, hey, how you doing? Like, good to see you. Good to meet you.
Sure.
And, I look forward to hearing you present and all this kind of stuff. And it was great. I thought, now that's classy. There were a couple other speakers there that we're going to have on this show. 100% we're going to have on this show. But there were ones there that just, like Monkey Man, who keeps calling it that he's going after the monkey this, the monkey that. And I'm just sitting here thinking, you're exactly what's wrong with this field.
Right.
You're exactly what's wrong with the research. All you see is tunnel vision for what is going on. And I don't like that.
No.
I don't like that whatsoever. Okay. And we have to be able to kind of move on with everything.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was fun.
Good.
It was great. Okay. It was great, but we got to continue working hard to try and make things happen properly.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do that. I really don't know how to do that. And we're trying to make sure that we can make things happen and make it work, because that's the only thing that we can do. Right?
Yeah.
It's the only thing that we can do is to make that happen. So how do we do it? We just keep going. We just keep going with everything. Okay. And I just kind of look at it and say, what are we doing to move the ball forward?
Right.
Are we doing what we need to do in order to keep the aspect of the show going, or the topic going? Or are we actually moving the ball forward with everything that needs to happen?
Right.
And I'm not sure what the answer is. Like, I went up there and I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. And if I don't know what it is, how do we move forward? Not just because I don't know, but I don't know how to move the ball forward without moving the ball towards what we are supposed to do. So it's tough for me when here I am trying to figure out, how do we do it?
Right.
How do we continue to move the ball moving forward? I don't know that. I don't know how to keep it going.
Yeah, that's a tough question. Yeah. How do you fix something when you don't know how? Well, yeah. How do you fix it when you don't know how to fix it? Right.
Well, and that's the big aspect of it all. Okay. That's the big aspect of what is truly going on.
Right.
So it's tough to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're frozen up here.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds. Let's stop that. All right. Bear with me. Guys, hold on. We're having a technical issue here. Okay. Just bear with me. I love life sometimes. I do. So let's try this. And let's try Did I just do the same thing? I totally just did the same thing. Just bear with me, Tim.
No problem. No
Okay,
problem.
So which one is which? Let's try this one here. See if that works. I don't know why all of a sudden everything started glitching.
It's the hot hair.
I don't know. Just pisses me off. Pisses me off. Okay. There should be 2 cameras running.
Yeah.
Okay. Which camera? Okay. That's your camera.
Yeah.
There. Okay. My camera is not working. So let's go like this and see if that works again. And if this one works in here. And I think I may have blown my camera.
Oh no.
I don't know. All right. Well, let's see. It's only recognizing one camera right now.
Well, that's strange. Eh?
Yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on here. Oh, that just cost me a bunch of work. That's okay. Let's try this out. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Might as well save your UFO report for next time. Is that going to work?
Well, while you're playing with that,
yeah.
Is there anybody out there that every time they hear phenomena, they want to go do 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 do?
Oh, I think there's a lot of people who do that. Okay, so my camera is working.
Okay.
But it's showing as the extra camera. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we got that. And let's see if we can. I think it's this thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're up.
I'm up.
Well, that's the most important part of this.
It's weird how that all of a sudden just started.
Huh.
Let's see if you're up now, too. No, it's not recognizing the other. Oh, now, is that it? Okay, so if that's my camera, so that's that one there.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the other camera? Unless my HDMI on that side is blown.
Oh. Oh.
Well, this kind of sucks. If that's the case, why would that happen?
Electronics.
Why would that happen? I don't need to share myself twice. We have unplugged it and replugged it a bunch of times, Robbie. All right. We'll figure it out. You guys could hear Tim on the microphone. Can you not? Can you guys hear Tim on his microphone? Is that working at least?
Do, 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 do.
Wonder what happened here.
Welcome back.
Okay, they can hear you.
All right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is something that a reboot is going to need.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're right.
Yeah, you're thinking, wonderful. Wonderful.
Oh well.
Where'd Tim go? Who?
Oh, he's the guy hiding in the dark in the corner.
Oh. Let's see if the extra camera will plug in now. No, it's still not.
Oh wow.
Still not up and running. So if I'm gonna try something here. Let's try this. Let's try this here. See if this works.
Everything's on down below, yeah.
Telling you. I don't know what is working and what isn't right now. But let's see if that works. No. Keeps wanting to share mine.
Oh, well.
So weird.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Now that song is in my head. Thanks, Tim. Yeah.
Who's that, Sandra?
Yeah. You just threw her right off the autographs for tonight's show.
Sorry, Sandra.
Well, what we're going to do here is, because I'm going to have to, we're just going to technically end the radio side of everything because it froze.
Right.
So we're just going to bullshit with the people until,
Cool.
because we're just on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just close that out.
Oh, earworm via Tim.
All
right.
Breaking news. Dave and Tim are swapping glasses frames. They want to be different.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we're doing. Exactly what we're doing. Just going to save me a bunch of time here.
So what do you want to talk about?
Well, you know what? Actually, I do want to talk about some SOR stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And before the rumors get out there and people start speaking a bunch of non-truths, I got a phone call yesterday or a text message yesterday from the lovely and talented Jessica Jones, who is a heartfelt friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 years ago when Jessica joined SOR and I asked her to come on in, I knew it was on a timeline. I knew for a long time that she wanted to do her own thing, that she wanted to continue learning the process. And so I figured, you know what? I'm going to teach her. And then when her wings are ready, she can spread on out and do her own thing. So yesterday she sends me a message that says, we need to have a chat. And so, I cut right to the chase. I said, so are you leaving SOR? And I laughed and she goes, please don't be mad at me. I said, I'm not mad. I'm proud. I said, this is exactly what we talked about a long time ago when we brought you in. I said, in fact, I'm surprised you've been here this long. I said, I don't say that to be insultive, but I do. I said, I remember our first conversation. I said, whenever you feel you're ready to move on, move on. There's not going to be any hard feelings. So Jessica Jones has decided that she wants to go and do her own thing on her own channel. And she's cutting down a lot of what she's doing as extras. Okay. So,
got it.
So she's, you know what? I'm proud of her.
Yeah.
She worked really hard for it. She's worked very diligently on trying to get her own channel going and her own channel up, because you know what? In the end, she's a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she needs to be able to try and figure out how to make this a career, which is what she's trying to do. And I commend her for it. I commend her with her hard work and her dedication to her research and the incredible broadcaster that she has become.
Right.
And, she says she'll always be a part of the SOR family, And I know the rumor mongers out there, and trust me, I know who you are. Okay. I know who you are. They're going to sit there and say, well, Dave loses another one. There goes another one from the SOR family and all this crap. And that's simply not true. Okay. That was an agreement that Jessica and I had for a long time. She's one of my best friends in this field. She will continue to be one of my best friends in this field. Thank you, Louis, for that great super chat. Okay. There is no drama behind this.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing more than she wants to go concentrate on her channel and do her own thing. And I'm very proud of her for that.
Yeah.
I'm very proud that she has decided to fly the coop. And you know what? You can't hold on to people forever.
No.
You know,
No.
especially in this business where you know what, things change all the time. And she wants to spend more time with her son. She wants to, especially with school starting. He's getting a little bit older. And I agreed with it. I totally agreed with it.
And that's
So,
awesome.
She wants to get more out in the outdoors. And I said to her, I said, I actually expected you to do this 6-8 months ago. She goes, I was going to. She goes, but the problem is, you know, I love SOR.
Right.
I love the family. Okay. And she goes, I didn't want to upset you. I said, well, you're not upsetting me. You know, I said, I've expected this for a long time. And in fact, once again, I said, I'm surprised it took you so long.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm very proud of her. You know, she took the advice that I gave her on learning about radio and learning how to podcast and broadcast and all that stuff. She took it to heart and she listened. And over time, her subscribers, she's worked hard on her social media. She's worked hard to get her name out there. And I'm proud of her, you know, and there are no hard feelings or anything like that. And for people who are, you know, and once again, I know who you are, who are going to stir it up and say that, you know, why can't SOR keep a host or why can't keep a volunteer? People are volunteers. Okay.
Absolutely.
In a case like Jessica, we trade. You bring me some great programming for my SOR audience. You get to grow your name. You get to grow your own channel. You get to grow who you are in this business through the reputation of SOR. And it pays off for a lot of people. Okay. So I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of who she is. If we do a fan party next year, I said, I have one request. I said, if we do a fan party next year, okay, I do want you there.
Yeah, of course.
And she goes, absolutely. You know, so it really is something that I'm proud of. And yes, Jessica's in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know what? She doesn't have to stay up late, you know, Eastern time to do her show. She can concentrate on her channel, you know, and I want her channel to be a success. I'm a subscriber to her channel. I'm a subscriber to her Patreon account. That's going to continue.
Perfect.
You know, cost me $31 Canadian a month.
What?
Okay. But I do it.
Yeah.
Because A, she's my friend, and B, she's talented.
Yeah.
She's very talented and knowledgeable. So I think it's a good thing. I'm excited for her. I'm sad for us and our team because we lose a great voice, but she wants to be a guest on this show. We're going to bring her on as a guest on this show.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and so I'm quite pumped about it. I'm very pumped about it. So if you guys have any questions out there, don't go nitter-nattering behind everyone's back. Hey, I heard this or I heard that. You're hearing it from the horse's mouth. Okay. That this is the reason why. And if you don't believe me, okay, you can go ask Jessica yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And Jessica's going to tell you the exact same thing. Right.
And I'm sure she's excited about it too.
Is.
Yeah.
She's very excited.
I would be.
About it. And she should be. I mean, she has worked extremely hard, you know, while being a single parent and taking care of her child and trying to live and put groceries on the table and a roof over the head. She's worked so hard on this channel, on her channel. And like I said, I want what's best for her. And if that's her own channel, you know what?
Yeah.
And if she decides to come back, she could come back anytime. Door is open.
No, that's cool. It's double-edged sword, right? Because you love her to death, and she is a part of the family. But it's good to see her grow and want to step out and do this. That's congratulations to her.
Absolutely. But there's one other thing too that I want to say. Okay. when I brought Jessica over from a different network,
Right.
okay, they told her that they were getting 1 million views a month,
Okay.
or 1 million listeners a month, and that she was getting tens of thousands of views, not only on her podcast, which was broadcast digitally, but on their YouTube channel as well. I went and did some homework.
Oh.
Jessica was lucky to get 50 people tuning in.
No.
And it was heartbreaking for her.
Yeah.
And so I said, come to me. I'll show you the real numbers. I'll show you what we do. And I said, I guarantee within a couple months, your 50 is going to jump to 1,000.
Wow.
And then it's going to jump to more. And that's exactly what happened.
Nice.
Okay. It's exactly what happened. And I was very impressed with how it went. And so was she. And they were begging her to come back.
Oh, no way.
And she was like, no, you guys lied to me about my numbers.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm trying to build something here. I don't need false numbers to make me feel good.
No.
I need the real numbers because I want to try and make a run at doing this full time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so when we came here, I said, I opened up our YouTube. I opened up everything. I said, these are the numbers. I introduced her to Spreaker. I said, hey, put your shows on Spreaker. Take your SOR shows, build your own Spreaker channel.
Right.
Okay. And get your shows out there, because you can monetize Spreaker and you might be able to make a few bucks off of that.
Sure.
So she did it. Now, if I'm the a-hole that many people have accused me of being because of the turnover on SOR,
right?
Okay, would I allow someone to take my programming, which they've signed off on because it's under the SOR banner?
Yeah, absolutely.
To go make money on their own elsewhere?
Yeah.
Oh, but people don't want to hear that.
No,
They
of
want
course.
drama.
Of course.
Okay. So, like I said, before anybody heads on out there and decides that they're going to, you know, say some crap, it didn't happen that way. It didn't happen at all that way. Jessica's a good friend, love her to death, told her that on the phone numerous times. She's my prodigy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, just like Sweet Robbie G is my new prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
And he is taking the ball and running with it.
Yeah, yeah.
He is running with it, and it's incredible. Okay, and I'm happy to watch him bloom into a broadcaster, not a podcaster, a broadcaster. And so I just want to kind of put an end to that, lack of a better term, bullshit.
Yeah.
That certain people out there are going to try and stir out. I'm very proud. Vanessa, great comment. She goes, Dave is proud. I'm very proud of Jessica.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been very proud of a lot of people who've been hosts on this show who have decided to go do their own thing. Courtney Marcassani, another one. Lynn Wallington, another one. I'm very proud of what they've done.
Sure.
Okay. And you know what? There's others that have not impressed me, you know,
sure.
and have went on to do their own thing. Good for them. I wish them all the success in the world.
Yeah.
I do. I wish them all the success in the world.
Well, why wouldn't you? Right? Like, yeah. Put bad energy out there. And yeah, it's good that you did this too, because I mean, I'm obviously you don't want people going around and spreading drama and getting stuff lit up. And yeah, just there it is. It's presented. It's on the table. Everybody knows what's going on, and good for her. That sounds awesome. And like you say, it sounds like she worked her behind off to get to where she's at.
Totally worked her behind off.
Yeah. So, and I've noticed it too, because I mean, obviously being on social media, I've noticed her pop up like in a lot of stuff. It's like, holy. So yeah, she's working hard on that end too. So good for her. I'm hope that she rockets to the top. I really do.
Oh, absolutely. And she's going to continue that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She's going to continue that. She's going to continue to grow. She's going to continue to be amazing. She will, so.
Yeah.
Oh my God. My computer's being just an idiot now.
No, so now.
Getting heartbroken here. Getting heartbroken. Now it's saying that I don't have enough memory and will not even allow me to edit.
What?
Oh my God. I got to clean up a bunch of this shit.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh.
I mean, obviously I don't have to worry about what you're worrying about, but
Yeah.
working with Photoshop and making, like I've made logos and stuff for guys for YouTube logos and stuff or whatever. And same thing. All of a sudden my computer will start crashing. I'm in the middle of a project and it's like, no, you've got no memory. It cannot perform this function.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the new audio for Rob. Okay. We're going to get rid of that. We'll get rid of that right there. Because I had to add a bunch of new programs in order to get set up.
Oh.
Empty recycle bin. Let's see if that'll cut. Please try making more space by removing unwanted files. I am. You son of a gun. You son of a monkey. All right, let's get rid of that one. Do I want to get rid of that one? No.
I like what Rob did with the studio.
Yeah, Rob's looking good these days.
Yeah.
Black
velvet posters up.
That's why we call them sweets, man.
Yeah, no doubt. No, it looks good. Looks really good.
Oh yeah. What else can we get rid of here? Oh, that's the bricklink.
Oh, what's that say?
I don't
know.
I'm too busy playing on my computer here right
now. No. It's about your computer.
I am so not computer literate when it comes to this stuff.
No.
And a comb. Yeah, my hair looks like hell tonight. Thanks, Noble Patrick. All right. Appreciate it. What's going on here? What are you reading?
I was just reading what Patrick wrote.
Yeah. Delete all your adult videos to make space. I don't have any of those.
No.
Oh man. What else do I delete here? What else should we delete?
Well, since I'm sitting on the other side, I have no clue.
What's this file here? I don't even know what this file is. Let's see what this is. March 9 spots. Yeah, we can get rid of that. That can go away. I'm like editing the shit out of all this. Oh, okay. So let's just highlight. Hold on. So I found a bunch. I know what these are. Let's get rid of this. Vroom. Holy cow. That's a lot of shit I'm getting rid of here.
Are we sure you need to get rid of it?
Don't know.
Oh, okay.
Don't know. I'm just
winging a prayer.
Now these are all a bunch of old photos of guests.
Oh
yeah. So then that happens. Wonderful. Wonderful. Boy, this is probably eating up a lot of it. I never clean up shit, man.
Ooh.
Never. Like there's 430 pictures right there.
Oh, really?
That are gone.
Yeah, I'm a little, I don't even know what the term is, but yeah, I'll go through my computer and clean crap out that I don't use it. Yeah, it's just weird. And same with my phone, all my photos and stuff like that. I'll go through them and go, nope, don't need that anymore. Like, yeah, clear out all my texts at the end of the day. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, let's just clear this bullshit up here. I don't know what this stuff is. We'll just get rid of it. Like, do I really need a picture of a cat? Like, seriously, do you need that, Dave? You need that cat photo?
But is it doing something funny? Can we make a meme out of it? Reactionary video? Or
I hate those reactionary. You had to bring that up.
I know,
I am
right?
so sick of reactionary videos.
Me too.
Oh my God.
I saw your post and I was like, I had to comment. I was like, yeah. I was like, shh, trying to watch cat eat out of a dish or whatever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, it's still not allowing me.
Oh.
Do I need any of that? No, we don't need any of that.
So what sent you over the edge with those? Were you at work?
No, you know what?
What's that?
I'm trying to watch a video of something, and all I see is like the half screen. The video I'm watching is here. Then you get some moron over here who's like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It just drives me batshit crazy.
No doubt.
That's all.
No doubt.
Drives me nutso. And it's like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me a break here. Like, who are you?
I know.
You know, and these are people who have tens of thousands of followers just by going.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. Yeah. Famous for nothing.
All right. Let's go to programs and features. Let's see what we can delete today. Well, let's see here.
I hear an emergency call to IT coming in the morning.
Oh. Express burning disk software. I don't even have that program. Uninstall.
Bye-bye.
Uninstall. I don't need that. Uninstall. There we go. Next. Delete all data files. Yes. Next. No, I don't want to tell you. I don't need to tell you. It's because my computer's a moron. All right. What else? We need voice meter, Logitech camera. We need Adobe Premiere Pro. I probably shouldn't, but
Adobe Pro.
Yeah. I don't think I need these NVIDIA graphics because I think Chuck and I installed that. I think we can get rid of this. Oh, I could be doing something really stupid here.
Trust your gut. Don't do it.
No, but I recall, but I don't use it because I don't have a graphic. I don't need a graphics driver.
Just for what? Video?
I think we were trying to figure something out and he had me download this.
Oh.
HD auto driver. So shit, I better ask him about that.
Yeah.
Switch file converter, need that. What is adopt open JDK? The hell is this?
I don't know. Rob, Dave, if you're not sure, do not delete it.
No, I'm not. Rob, I'll call you after the show.
You're staying up, Rob.
You're staying up late, sweet Robbie G. He's like, oh, hell, here we go.
Curses.
Curses, I tell you. Curses. I need WavePad. What is MixPad? Multi-tracking. What the hell is this? Now I got to go Google this.
Uh-oh.
All right. Mix pad. Oh, that's that thing. Okay. I don't need that. I don't use it. I don't think. No, I don't use that. Definitely don't use that. We can get rid of that. All right. Mix pad, you're gone. Uninstall. Uninstall mix pad. Delete. No, I don't want to tell you. All right. We're making room here.
Making room.
What else? A USB audio driver. We need that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Angry IP Scanner is. Apparently, I downloaded that on February 11th, 2020.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. Maybe I've done enough now. Have I done enough damage? Are you going to let me cut that?
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I bet you it's one of these things that when I reboot my computer, everything's going to be like hunky dory.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is NHC Suite? Oh, I don't need that. I've already bought the software.
Mm.
Oh, it just, I see. That's their advertising thing.
Robbie G better run to the corner store and grab a 6-pack of Red Bull or something.
Right? It's going to be a long night for you, sweet Robbie G.
Because if that reboot don't work.
Uh-huh. Well, the reboot's going to work.
Yeah. It should.
What the hell is MonoSnap?
Oh.
Look up there, see if somebody knows what MonoSnap is.
MonoSnap. I'm waiting.
MonoSnap. What is it? MonoSnap is a screenshot program for Mac. Some Windows. Screenshots. I don't use it. MonoSnap is gone. Uninstall.
As for net, I am spam.
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome. Do I still have that MonoSnap bullshit on here? No. I don't see it. Where are you? Radio DJ need? What is? Okay. When was that? Okay. So I probably need that stuff. Need that. Need that. Need that. Ultra VNC. I don't think I need Ultra VNC anymore because I'm using AnyDesk.
Doot, doot, doot. We're sorry, but the number you have dialed, Rob G.
That is awesome. Oh, yeah. Everybody viewing this on YouTube is going to be like, what an idiot.
What's going on?
An idiot.
How'd your UFO report go? Outstanding.
Yeah, you can blame me for that one.
No, that's all it. Technology.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know how many times, I guess computers, but being a mechanic by trade, I started out and everything was so simple. And then when you got into the computers and all this sort of stuff, I don't know how many times I've been sitting working on a vehicle. And if this was a 1976 Cutlass Supreme, I'd already have it on the road, right? But yeah, computers and
I hear you.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of
Yeah,
times.
that was downloaded. Yeah, I'm uninstalling the graphics driver NVIDIA because I don't need it.
Okay.
I remember why we had that conversation.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Stephen Finnegan, how you doing? Waiting for the blue screen of doom.
No.
Yep. Okay, it wants me to restart to take those off. Look how thick that hair is. God damn, that's way too thick. All right. All right. I see what's going on here. All right. Well, I'm going to go reboot my computer because I don't want to be here all night.
No. Either just Rob.
All right. So, much love to Deb ×2, Sandra, Steve, Lee, Louie, and Noble Patrick for the super chats. Tomorrow night on the show, where are we here? Steve Stockton going to join us, talk about some unbelievable, strange cases. We love it when Steve is here. Josh Rutledge will fill in for Science Bob on Wednesday, and we'll go from there. Anyways, I'm going to go deal with my computer. You guys have a good night. We'll see you soon, everybody. I'll press this thing here.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.